That is too funny.
It's so true. It's so true.
Oh, yeah.
Well, good evening to you, Dennis.
Hello, Eric. How are you?
Is it a happy hour where you are?
It is indeed. It is happy hour. In fact, anywhere where anyone can listen to us speak.
Indeed.
That's the rule. Our rule of the universe.
Cheers to listener 1 and listener 2.
Cheers to the both of you. Oh, we lost one.
Oh, man.
Down to one.
Well, she went to go get a refill, I think, on her.
This new software that you post for me is a little bit disconcerting because now it shows real-time listening audiences, and I just noticed in Uruguay that we went from 560th to 565 exactly 3 seconds after we opened. As soon as they heard your voice,
right,
they started tuning out.
Yes.
So can't you? Do they speak Spanish there in Uruguay? What do they speak?
Spanish. Yes.
Uruguayan or some version of Spanish? So why don't you learn it?
Español.
You look it up. You send me something. We'll have a little dialogue. We'll open up just for the Urakians. All right.
I remember learning in my Spanish class in high school, we had to, I guess, memorize all the countries in the world that spoke Spanish. And so we learned all about, and we learned a little bit about every one of them, but not very much. In fact, I knew so little about Spain when I was 18 years old. The only things I knew about Spain was, I guess maybe I remembered the foods paella and flan, and that was about it.
You knew it was near Portugal.
Yeah, I could find it on a map, but the and the Barcelona Olympics I was sort of aware of. But,
Barcelona. I go to Barcelona when I'm at Rodriguez.
Yes. How has your week been, young man?
I don't really want to talk about it. I'm licking my wounds. I started to write a blues song the other day that I'm sitting in the balcony. I'm waiting for the storm to roll in. And I hope the rain will wash and rinse my wounds, and then something about the bonds that bind me. And, I'll have to, remember it all or not.
Right.
But at any rate, that's just what happens. That was happy hour when I wasn't plugged in.
Right.
Here.
Yeah, I find it, the couple times I've written songs, I got to write stuff down as it comes to me, because otherwise it just goes away into the ether. Right.
So speaking of Spanish class, back in high school, I had a nun as my Spanish teacher, Sister Claire Francis, and she was a nun of the St. Joseph Order, who the big peak of my religious upbringing was when they switched from the old habits to the new habits. And it was too bad, as Sister Claire Francis was concerned, because the more you saw of her, the less you were happy about it. But the other nun we had was Sister Marjorie, who we knew was attractive in the face and sweet talking, with a certain odor, very not nun-like, and a vibe that was sort of like, how could I be a nun and look like this? So when she went to the more modern habit, we were rewarded amply. But back to Claire Francis, who not so much. And so what she decided was apparently to put a little hat on her head with a little veil on it, the veil of representing the marriage to her with Jesus.
Right.
And a simple white blouse with a tie, like a French tie,
sure,
and a very demurring skirt, right, long.
Right.
But anyway, the hat was the key. So one day when we were after school, in fact, we just finished gym class, our last class, Steve Christofik, who and I would fight all the time, he hit me, I hit him back. He started to chase me out of the gym, and I ran, and he picked up one of his wingtips, which is about size 11 and a half, when he was a senior in high school, and he threw it at me. And as I continued running, I picked it up and I ran all the way up the stairs. And when I was at the top of the stairs, I looked down and I saw Steve's head pop in the staircase, and he looked back, and he popped in the staircase, and I looked back. And so he was doing it in such a way that I immediately figured out a pattern, and I was immediately ready to drop the shoe and hit him in the head.
Yeah.
Story down. He went to pop out. I dropped the shoe. It wasn't him. It was Sister Claire Francis.
No.
I hit her right in the head, and I not only knocked off her little hat, but the wig that was holding it on, showing
my God.
kind of like alien-esque type balding. Oh, I forgot to shave it for the past 2 months look, which was shocking. We got in so much trouble. The master of discipline, a priest, the prefect of discipline.
You dropped a shoe,
size 11 and a half shoe
on a bald nun.
Oh, well, no. In my hard defense, she was not bald at the time. It was true that she became bald as part of the event. So it was balding in many ways. So the prefect of discipline was for most students, a very generous and funny man who was known to have his unlit pipe upside down as he walked, and he was the head of the musicals and the director, and he was beloved for most of the students. But for me, not so much, because I had failed on my scorecard for 3.5 years straight the grade for discipline. So I was not on his A list.
Really?
I failed it. I erased it. I wrote in an A. My parents signed it. I took it back. I erased it. I wrote in an F. I turned it in. And at one point, this prefect of discipline holds up my report card for the year where you could see through it.
Yeah.
In all the places where I erased. And he said, "This has come to my attention recently." And it was the same time of this shoe incident. But he, who had a humor and a musical talent, and he was a director. I liked the guy, but he didn't like me. We hit it off maybe briefly when I was in the musicals, which is a whole other story. But for this particular meeting, he says, with his dry humor, we come in, we all sit down, and Steve is a big dude, he sits down and he's stifling a laugh, which is not good. Keeps half chuckling, and then Father Breitenauer looks at him sternly, and he stops, and it's quiet. And Father Breitner says, so what's this I hear that there was assault by shoe of Sister Claire Francis?
Assault by shoe.
To which Steve, of course, immediately started giggling.
Right.
And then Father Breitner looked at him, and it went on and on. But we had to leave the school grounds then after that incident every day. We weren't escorted, but you were
told that after class finished, you were to no longer be on the school grounds.
Right. So I couldn't go home because I had been kicked out of after school activities that occupied 5 or 6 days a week.
Well, I'm sure
on the one hand, made me make up an excuse to my parents, but on the other hand, was a great opportunity for downtime. When I wasn't at school, instead I was playing pool and poker over at Mark's house.
I was going to ask you what mischief you got up to.
Didn't have to leave, but were attracted to the poker game, and we played for cash, for money,
right?
And played pool, and drank, and et cetera, back in the day, that was so. Sister Claire Francis did us a favor, right? I mean, she introduced us to the world of alcohol and drugs. It was very broad. I'm sure that's one of the mission statements of the Sisters of Claire Francis, the Sisters of St. Joseph, that they are to lead their protege, or so-called,
towards vice,
right. Away from virtue.
Well done. Somewhere in here, there's a joke about waiting for the other shoe to drop, but I can't find it. I heard a pretty interesting story recently. Do you know the word defenestration? Defenestrate.
Yes.
What does it mean?
It means I'm going to fail this interview and not get the job.
Very good. Defenestrate means to throw someone out a window. And almost never does, at least once a year, I try and use that word.
Defenestrate.
Defenestrate.
Defenestrated. Defenestrating.
Right. Defenestration. Like if my kid doesn't clean up their goddamn room, they're going to be defenestrated, or something like that. But there's a story that involves auto-defenestration, which of course is throwing yourself out a window. And I'm sure hundreds of people commit suicide that way every year, which is not what I'm on about. Probably hundreds around the world. But there's this story of there was this lawyer in Toronto. He was 38 years old, and he was giving this talk to a bunch of new interns that were going to come in his law firm, and he's up in the 24th floor of a bank tower, and he was demonstrating how safe the windows are in this skyscraper. And he went and he slammed into the window, and it broke, and he went all the way through and plummeted to his death.
Oh my God!
In 1993, this was. What a terrible story.
Oh, well, and so during the comedy hour, we'll go ahead and lay it out there, and all of our listeners will hang up on us. Well,
no, but
autodefenestration.
Autodefenestration. Is
that correct?
Accidental self-defenestration. Yeah.
In this case, but otherwise, so
someone shared this article with me, and it just kind of blew my mind of what a fucked up way to die, to be, doing this in front of, interns here in your conference room or whatever, and be like, see how strong these windows are, and just go right the fuck through. That's just so.
It's stunning. It's stunning. And I have to tell you that I autodefenestrated when I was in high school, and I'm going to tell you about it.
Is this the other shoe dropping?
So to speak. I mentioned Sister Marjorie, who, when she shifted into the modern-day nunnery, was nothing less than soothing and pleasing. And, oh, my God, you're in high school, right?
Uh-huh.
And so she had a great sense of humor, Irish and young. I mean, very young. I mean, we're talking in her young 30s, you know. And fresh out of the nunnery, so to speak. And we all loved her. And she was funny. We could play jokes with her, and she would laugh and stuff. So there was a bunch of us wild ones in the particular class. She was a math teacher. In the math class, 5 or 6 of us guys who were kind of cut-ups, we decided that we were going to do this thing that included and started with me getting into an argument with Sister Marjorie about some math problem and the way she treats us and how it just is I can't handle it anymore. And then as I give the speech, the other boys would organize the rest of the class, which is only 16, 18 people, to start saying the phrase like a chant, driving him crazy, something like that. I can't remember exactly what. And as they did it, though, they started moving all the desks in the room to put Sister Marjorie in the back corner behind her desk. Okay, so this is all orchestrated.
Yes.
Now, in this classroom, there were radiators and windows alternating on the side of the building, and we weren't on the first floor of the building was actually a half floor. So the first floor of the building was a floor and a half. So that's where we were. And there were very big windows that were 6 feet, and they were 3 feet off the floor of the room, but they were 4 feet wide. They were 48-inch windows. And so as the class was doing the chanting and I started saying much more aggravated, I can't take it, I threw open the window and threw myself out of it, and she had a fucking heart attack. Not seriously.
Right.
But then it exploded into God knows what. I had been practicing for a couple of days before
landing
on my toss, land and roll, so that I could absorb it, and it was perfectly executed. I was as nimble as could be. I was like 5'2" tall. I mean, I could probably raised up by the winds that might have caught me on the way down. And so, yes,
defenestration.
Yes, that might be the title of the episode, but do it with in parentheses, the phonetic spelling of the word. Boom. Listeners in Uruguay skyrocket. And Paraguay. We don't, we never talk about Paraguay.
Yeah, it's Uruguay's little twin there. And
well, let's hope with more listeners. We should start to hone this. We know we've got listeners there. We need to do some research.
We'll have to start advertising in we can buy a billboard in Paraguay.
Spanish. Hey,
happyhour.fm.
I saw something the other day that reminded me of something that I never use Facebook, but somehow I did connect with the Facebook because of the hilarious Irish weather report that I, in fact, have shared several times. Twice actually, at an Irish bar that I frequent that sells Smittix, O'Duffy's Pub.
Is this did I send you this video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Irish weather.
I'll post that in the show notes.
The first time I showed it, they weren't Irish. They thought it was humorous. The second time I played it, it was a table full of Irish people who had been drinking for another 45 minutes, who were already laughing loudly in the bar.
Rain pelting down from fucking all sides on top of us. No let up. You'll be drowned to the fucking bollocks. Look, in the Midlands you get a little bit of relief for an hour or so, but that's about it. I'm advising you not to go out. Look on Monday. I don't know how you're going to get the fucking kids to school. Thunder, lightning, rain, pissing, flooding, you fucking name it. Everything on fucking Monday. Big dirty wind coming in from the west. Look at it. Up from the southwest winds. They'll fucking cut the bollocks off you walking to school. They'll turn umbrellas inside out.
They were rolling. So I was so impressed with it that the next day, which was yesterday, when I went to this other place that sells a nice Irish beer upstairs in the balcony where I was writing the blues song, in fact. You hear that?
What's your dog's name?
I don't have a dog. That's right.
Well, you've got a bark.
You heard it. So where was I?
You were up in the balcony at the Irish place writing the blues song, talking something about the weather report.
Oh, the Irish weather report.
Yes.
Which you'll be posting. I got it. Okay.
At happyhour.fm/024, because we have done as many episodes as there are hours in a day.
Wow. Imagine that.
I know, right?
It would take a whole day to binge.
You could listen. It would take a whole day to listen to everything we've done.
Sell tickets for that. Turn into a beer festival.
Yes.
So anyway, back to the Irish news weather report. In this restaurant, inside, was a woman whose name was Reagan, and I had met her before I was there. She was a server and obviously very Irish, and I gave her my best Irish lilt, which she thought was impressible. But I said, hey, you got to hear this Irish weather report. And she says, what now? She's really sweet. What now? I said, you need to really hear this. This is so funny.
Hold on one second.
Keep that in. That's good.
You have dogs, I have elephants. You know.
Fucking music. And so I had my phone, and my phone, to me, is notorious for not being loud enough to hear it. When I was playing the Irish weather report at the bars, I had to turn it up loud, and then I had to move it toward their ears so they could hear it.
Right.
So I didn't want to make the mistake here, so I turned it up as loud as it could. And much to my dismay and her absolute terror, the Irish weather report opened up in full blare in this quiet restaurant where people were dining. And what you hear blaring out of the phone is, "Oh, tomorrow going to be fucking disaster. It's not shit." And she just went, "Oh my God." And she said, oh, I'm going to get in trouble.
Hey, poor Reagan.
And I turned it quieter and I walked out of the place and I thought, what did I just do? Now, these people looked up, but I don't think they could hear it.
Yeah, they were just...
your bullocks are ready to be pilted. Well, fuck them, there's a rebel.
Yes.
Very funny.
Excellent.
Did you hear that he called out a fat guy in the audience? It's like, are you fucking kidding me? You blobby bowl of fucking bullshit jello? You sack of shit in a fucking suit with an orange fucking wig on? Are you kidding me? You're calling somebody fat?
Wow.
Oh my God.
Classy.
What through the looking glass world do you live in? So picture that as him saying it when he, like somebody would imagine him saying it when they're high.
Right.
Oh man, look at that guy. He's really fat, man. Wait a minute. Am I fat? Yeah, so am I, man.
Hey, so's that guy in the mirror.
That guy's got a serious weight problem. Go home, start exercising.
Right.
Yeah.
Play Michael Jackson, The Man in the Mirror. Stick that in your show notes, baby. You ought to play it right now. Edit it, stop, play it. Intersperse this with a little music like I did. What do you think about the contest idea?
You want people to call in and do their best.
Yep.
Michael Jackson.
We're going to start with you, and we're going to do it on the air live tonight. You get the benefit that they won't of being able to sing it along with Freddie Mercury. And just let me know when you're ready, or if you're not ready, and we'll give it a shot. So when he starts to sing, you can sing with him, and that'll show people what we're looking for in the talent.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
The skies I see. I'm just
I'm just a
You
poor boy.
missed your mark. You missed your mark.
I'm just a poor boy.
Well, that's right. We know that's what you're supposed to say, but
As just a po' boy.
oh shit, it won't go backwards.
Well, it's technology.
It's always tech. I'm not a tech guy, as you know. Well, anyway, we'll think about that for future episodes. We'll get that synced up so you can practice in the mirror, because we should film it and then have a video version ready to go.
All right.
And we'll do the blurred background thing that you did once.
Yeah.
Where I don't, let's do that. And then throw some stardust in there, coming off your head or something. Well, it's already kind of coming off your prosthetic ankle, as usual. Attractive as ever.
My proboscis, yes.
Yes. So anyway, I said the other day that I saw it on Facebook, your Caricature.
Yes.
That is your page. And I think that's one half of what our little podcast poster needs to look like.
That was drawn by my aunt.
Then have your aunt draw one of me.
She
your aunt or your aunt? Aunt. Where you from? Indiana? Aunt.
Maybe.
From Ohio?
My father's brother's wife. She, for Christmas cards, sometimes she will send us a little card where she has drawn our family based on some photo that she's seen.
There you go.
And it's that particular image, which I will share in the show notes, is very much like it really captures me, I think.
Right. So we'll get a shot. We'll go for it.
Yes, I'll have to send her a picture of you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've got one to send you. So,
well, okay. In the spirit of your children's story of 2 episodes ago of Erik the Chipmunk, I have a story to tell.
I have part 2, by the way.
Oh, well.
There's more, but go ahead.
Hold on to that. Well, that'll be the next chapter. I have a story about Dennis the Chick. My kids are currently spending the summer with my in-laws, with their grandparents, in southern Spain. And one Friday at the local town market, they were selling little baby chicks. And the kids really, really liked it, and so my mother-in-law bought them a chick. We'll call him Dennis. And
why?
He was just so well, because the chipmunk was named Erik, where the chipmunk is the chick is Dennis, because you're yellow and fluffy.
Because that's
and you go cheep 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 all the time because you don't like to spend money, so you're always saying
I'm only fluffy. I'm only fluffy down there, as you well know, big boy. But nonetheless.
Well, anyway, so
here's the chick.
They had this little baby chick, and my wife and I went down to see them last weekend, and so we got to meet this little chick, and he was just so cute. He would follow everyone around. Anyone that moved, he would race after you and follow you around. So you had to be really careful where you stepped. If you took a step back where you had come from, you needed to look where you were stepping.
Right.
And also I'm saying he. It turns out sexing a chicken is really difficult. Like, it's really hard to tell. There are.
If anybody would know that, I imagine it would be you. I'm not surprised that this is one of your areas of expertise at all.
There are professionals.
Go ahead and enlighten us.
Because in
the reason you had to move overseas. Go ahead.
In the chicken industry, it's really important to determine the boys from the girls, because one of them is going to be able to produce more chickens, and the other is good for meat. And so there are people that are professional chicken sexers. I'm sure of this. Anyway, we're going to call him he because his name is Dennis. And also all nonstop he would be like chip 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 chip. He just would not shut up, much like his namesake. And the and he was just so cute. We all really liked him a lot. And then one evening we all went out for a walk, and we didn't lock him up into either the bathroom or to a little shed. And we came back, and Dennis was gone.
Oh, no. Disappeared?
Well,
Or dead?
Well, there are cats that jump around in that area, sort of stray feral cats, and we're pretty sure a cat got Dennis.
And took him away.
Yeah, probably
And ate him.
Probably
Ripped his head
not
off.
to, to live a happy
Cool.
life.
Well, that's a great cheery story.
My kids
would like that.
my-
Do they eat cats in Uruguay?
My kids were quite devastated,
Oh, I would.
as was the whole family. Although the adults were like, oh well, we lost a chicken, but my kids really loved little Dennis, and we're quite distraught. But the whole thing about having pets as a kid, one of the benefits is learning how to deal with grief and loss and stuff. Where
True.
your goldfish dies, and you learn about how that is. But anyway, that's my story. Dennis the chick.
So, Chipmunk Part 2.
Okay. Dun dun dun. Previously on Erik the Chipmunk.
Erik. Right. So, Erik the Chipmunk's stiff, swollen body
Purple.
that had drowned in the painter's cleaning fluid bucket
Yes.
was left in the bucket. I wasn't about to remove the body. It wasn't my bucket. It wasn't my responsibility. And so
Would you say that he was marooned in the bucket?
it was in fact purple paint, so yes.
Okay.
Bluish after a week. And preserved. Absolutely preserved.
Mummified.
Yes. And so
Mummy chipmunk.
the painter Mike comes by and says, "Hey, look what happened." And I said, "Yeah, I know about it. Poor little Erik." And he says,
News of Eric's demise has reached Uruguay already.
He says, "Erik?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You named him?" And I said, I waved it off and I said, "Only after he died." And he said, "Huh." And, and I was busy, he was busy, we parted company. And so that's only the first part of the story. Later in the day, I was leaving my home office, going out the back door where Mike was working. And by his side was the blue buckets, full of liquid. And I looked at him and I looked at the bucket and he said, "Yeah, I took Erik out and I just added a bunch of bleach." And I said, "And you're still using it to clean your
brushes?"
And he says, "Oh yeah." He said, "Bleach is powerful." And I said, "Oh man, don't empty it. Let's start over." So and
Erik,
he thought that was very funny and he laughed.
Erik didn't get a proper burial then.
Well, we don't know.
We don't know what Mike did. He might have
So
done
I'll
a
ask.
hole.
I'll just say, "So what'd you do with Erik?" I suspect that what he did, because of the stench coming from our garbage can in our back porch,
Right.
that he wrapped little Erik in a bag and stuck little Erik in some, plastic container of some kind and put him in my garbage can.
Right.
And then after decomposing for a while, no longer completely embalmed from the
Right.
oil-based stuff that poor little Erik drowned in, falling off the shelf where he gorged himself with seed, dying a full and somewhat close to happy death, though I'm sure as he was clawing his way trying to get out of the slick walls of the plastic bucket that it was pretty terrible, but it didn't last long. Glub. And then what? So, hey.
So
listen,
everyone, tune in next time
don't think about it.
for part 3.
I don't want you to think about it. So I'll ask him. We'll see.
Next time on Erik the Chipmunk. Yeah.
Which they'll be able to listen to that where?
At happyhour.fm. Obviously. That's where everyone goes to have fun on the internet. Chipmunk is a particular species where popular culture has given us 3 male names: Alvin, Simon, and Theodore.
Alvin!
And so it was very creative of you to go out of those, break through those walls, and give him a proper, just masculine name like Erik.
Erik the Chipmunk. And that's spelled E-R-I-K.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with E-R-I-C.
K like chipmunk. Right. Exactly.
Chipmunk, M-U-N-K.
Exactly.
Erik the Chipmunk, K-K. Erik.
Monk.
Known Chipmunk, K-K-K.
No. Well, I don't know. Can chipmunks be racist? I don't know.
Can they vote? It wouldn't matter. It would be too hard to register.
Yeah. Plus, they have those really high voices, and
Well,
you know.
I think that one of the things that I want you to put in the show notes is I want you to take what you just did and I want it to be repeated and woven together with 25 voices all saying that simultaneously and put that in the show notes.
Like a chorus of chipmunks?
Yes, that voice you just did, that little snippet,
Right.
and just 25 times over. Will you do it?
Probably not.
Fuck.
I'm
What do
just
you
a
do?
poor boy. You know.
Okay, that's the beginning of the audition. You just somehow it was less Freddie Mercury-like and more Eric or Alvin the fucking Chipmunk.
Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy?
Alvin!
Oh, poor Eric.
Oh, Eric!
May he rest in peace.
Oh, well. This week there's stuff that happened in my personal life where something that I wanted to happen didn't happen. And so when I'm telling people about it, they're commiserating, blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling them, what happened, blah, blah, blah. And I say, but you know what they say? When one door closes, another door opens. And as they're saying, yeah, that's right. I say, besides that, it's a good car. And they, without exception, think it is very funny. Because it's an honest thing. I'm bringing them in to this thing that's personal.
Yes.
And it just works. And the other day I added, one door closes, another opens, and that's what they said about my father who built sheds. And it didn't work because I did it wrong. And they were like, well, that's interesting. See ya. And they hung up as if to say, this is deteriorating.
Yeah. We're turning into old man ranting. Do you have any more Catholic school stories? That was some good stuff.
A wealth, an absolute wealth. So here's one.
So you have more than none?
Here's. Oh yes. And so there was another nun who I haven't mentioned yet, named Sister Dorothy, who looked very much like the Witch in the Wizard of Oz, and this
That's ironic.
therefore oddly named
Right.
as the witch's protagonist.
Right.
In this case, but she looked, and so it was an odd beginning point. She went from old nunnery habits to new nunnery habits, and as we suspected.
So can you teach an old nun new habits?
That's probably so. Listen, that's actually moderately clever. That is tracking back. So this is episode 24. The last time you were that clever was episode 3.
I remember that. Yes, that was a good episode.
No, you don't remember it. You don't because you don't have the capacity.
No,
But at any rate, here's Sister Dorothy.
I can't remember the beginning of this one. So
Of what?
right.
Right.
Anyway,
Here's Sister Dorothy. And she, like Father Breitenauer, is the prefect of discipline, but only for the women, for the girls. And so I'm in chess club.
Wait. I have a question. What does prefect mean?
Prefect. You'll have to score it up at Wikipedia, but a prefect is like the director.
Wikipedia?
Wickle.
Wickle?
The Wicked. Wikipedia. Wicked.
So she looked like the Wiki Witch of the West. Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Tell me about Dorothy.
Here we were after school, all ganging around, and I'm in the chess club, even though I didn't know how to play chess. And even though I couldn't play, and I had to play but I never won a chess game, they elected me president because they liked me. They didn't have anything to do with chess. And the people who were good at chess didn't like me at all. They didn't like me at all. It didn't last long because I was struck down from my prefect of discipline, the other story about the shoe. But back to the nun, the female prefect of discipline. She came into the room, and there, one of my
Wait.
Your
Let me
classmates.
hold on. Let me stop you there. So, someone that didn't know anything about anything got elected president?
Yes.
Okay, good. Continue.
Hey,
That seems.
You know what?
That seems.
This is before its time.
It's not really plausible, but
this is 1969. This is 1969.
Okay. We'll just pretend like that could actually happen. Continue.
So, my friend sitting on my lap, and the nun came in. Sister Dorothy came in, and clicked her heels and told her to get off my lap, and then said, "Come to my office immediately," and brought the girl into her office and told her this: when you sit on a man's lap, and that part of your body is near that part of his body, that's called fornication and intercourse. And my classmate said, "No, it's not." and the funny thing is, we were sophomores, and she already knew through her own practice, which of course is one of the reasons I love having her on my lap. Which little did she know that in my mind, maybe these things cross my mind. But at any rate, she says this. But she's written up. She's given disciplinary demerit for not only sitting on my lap inappropriately, but also for talking back and saying, "No, it's not."
Right.
But that's the atmosphere of the school. So, and the fact of the matter is, poor Sister Dorothy, she didn't know. She didn't know that that thing that you did once when you were 12 or whatever.
She actually believed what she was saying. You're saying?
Oh, there's no doubt.
Wow.
No, she's not. She's incapable of bullshitting. No, this is her life.
So repressed that you think just being in the general vicinity is sex. Wow.
So we had this priest, and this priest was Italian, right? And I remember his name in a minute.
Did he walk into a bar with a rabbi?
Risotto, Father Risotto. So
well,
he
like the rice.
Well, if you'd like,
all right,
whatever helps you remember.
Sounds like an Italian name you just made up, but go ahead.
So short dude, looks
Risotto.
Italian, talks Italian, etc. The priests dressed in their black suits, with their little white dentist looking collar that they have on, and he was funny, and he was always fresh with the girls, and he was known for it. And as an Italian man, he was like, making jokes, and there was stuff that the girls said, and it was always maybe a bit of a problem for him, but not that I remember, because I just liked the guy a lot. Everybody did, but he didn't like me that much because I was a Polish German kid, and he liked the Italian kids.
Right.
He was 100% Italian, but he's fiery, right, and et cetera, the Italian image. So he is in the faculty at the same time. Sister Marjorie dehabits. So at one point in my senior year, the rumor goes around that one of the kids in my class that was driving drove by the cemetery up the street from the high school and saw on the cemetery grounds Father Risotto and Sister Marjorie making out.
Wait, define dehabits.
What?
That you said that Sister Marjorie dehabited.
Well, she took off her old habitry and her scarf and her scowl and her bib, and she replaced it with the new stuff, which was
you
showing her hair and her bodice, and not a collar, but a big floppy tie of some kind. And,
right. Okay.
But she was built like a shit brick house, and so Father Risotto and her making out, and then later, Sister Marjorie left, and it went around that she left the nunnery, and Father Risotto was in trouble.
Wow. Father might have become a father.
No, I don't. I don't think it went that far.
No.
I don't think the father got the first base. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
it's enough that they were kissing.
Making out is first base, right?
Well, maybe to you it is, but right, whatever.
Yeah, there's got to be so much of that. The whole repression of all sexuality must make.
Yeah, how'd that work for him?
Yeah,
worldwide. How'd that work for him? Did you see, you could do a clip of this, 3 billboards outside LB, Missouri?
Yes, I saw that movie, yep.
And so the talk she has with the priest, I think we've mentioned this on the podcast before.
I don't think so.
So she goes back to her house, and there's a priest there, and her son is there with the priest and says, "Hi, Mom, look who's come to visit." And he says, we in the church have been talking, and we think we really need to, take down those billboards or whatever. And she launches into what your show notes will show, which is this wonderful speech about being in a gang, and everybody in a gang is like, you're me, I'm you, we're together, you do something, I'm responsible, and that you're in a gang. And as far as I can tell, you fuck little altar boys, and that's your gang. So don't you dare come in here and talk to me about what I'm doing, and you can just get the fuck out of my house.
You know what I was thinking about today? I was thinking about those street gangs they have down in Los Angeles, those Crips and those Bloods. And I was thinking about that bunch of new laws they came up with in the 1980s, I think it was, to combat those street gangs, those Crips and those Bloods. And if I remember rightly, the gist of what those new laws were saying was, if you join one of these gangs and you're running with them, and down the block one night, unbeknownst to you, one of your fellow Crips or your fellow Bloods shoot up a place or stab a guy, well then, even though you may not know nothing about it, and even though you may have just been standing on a street corner minding your own business, what these new laws said was, you're still culpable. You're still culpable by the very act of having joined those Crips and those Bloods in the first place. Which got me thinking, Father, that whole type of situation is kind of like you church boys, ain't it? You got your colors, you got your clubhouse, you're, for want of a better word, a gang. And if you're upstairs smoking a pipe and reading your Bible, while one of your fellow gang members is downstairs fucking an altar boy, well, Father, just like those Crips and just like those Bloods, you're culpable. 'Cause you joined the gang, man. I don't care if you never did shit, and you never saw shit, you never heard shit. You joined the gang, you're culpable. And when a person is culpable to altar boy fucking or any kind of boy fucking, because I know you guys didn't really narrow that down, then you kind of forfeit the right to come into my house and say anything about me or my life or my daughter or my billboards. So why don't you just finish up your tea there, Father, and get the fuck out of my kitchen?
Powerful.
Tribalism morality is, there for sure. Other people in the church must, but it's like how Republicans feel about Trump, right? How some decent people that are also Republicans feel about Trump is it must be just they hate what an asshole he is, but he's on their team. He's their
asshole. He's
their quarterback, and you've got to support just for the team. Yeah, it must be tough. I mean, I remember when Bill Clinton was caught being not some good person. How I was still young, and I was still a little too young to actually firmly agree with it, either political party. But I remember thinking, being an apologist for his shitty behavior.
Yeah. Well, and it is disappointing again and again and again and again, and it just happens repeatedly. I mean, the travesty of the comedian in the Senate who resigned as a result of his on-camera.
Yes.
When you think about all of the folks that have, the Clintons and the Trumps and all that stuff, and you think about some of those caught up in that, and the people that I work with here in the state and then at the national, like Senator Al Franken, who was so fucking wonderful.
Yes.
Who was so articulate and with a sense of humor and wouldn't back down and he was funny.
Yep.
And the stuff that he did, and it's like stupid high school pictures, because that's what's funny, is that high school pictures are funny and not appropriate and not good and blah, blah, blah. And yes, shaming and embarrassing and stupid and worthy of deep denigration and punishment of some kind.
Well, and
really,
it's worthy of a huge, honest apology, but to totally throw in the towel, and because he could do so much good.
The women senators decided
right
that he would go, and he went.
He wrote,
and now they're like, huh.
Yeah, it would be nice to have him back.
Huh.
Yeah, there was a really good article, which I can't find at the moment, but I'll post in the show notes, where somebody went recently, a couple months ago, to interview him at his home, and just rehashed all of the, apparently everywhere he goes, people are like, "Hey man, I wish you hadn't resigned."
Yeah, right.
Which
right.
has got to just be the worst punch to the gut that you can get after throwing away your political career.
There's some talk about maybe a comeback.
Well, and speaking of Al Franken, I was always a fan before bad things came out of Anthony Weiner. He was always well-spoken and just really putting people's feet to the fire.
The shit he did was way weird.
But that's
way.
I agree that he should not be in public office.
The only thing Franken could have done to top Weiner was to show a picture of his penis wearing a fucking cowboy hat, and compare what Franken did to what Weiner did. I mean, oh my God.
No, I don't think they're.
I'm not suggesting you're suggesting that. I'm just opining that it's hugely different.
Well, and that's a big problem with this. I think it was Matt Damon briefly came out and said, "Okay, look, it's one thing to slap a waitress's ass, and it's a different thing to do what Harvey Weinstein did, where you have to give me oral sex or you're not going to be in my movie,
right? And rape and
everything, yeah. But there's this. But he immediately had to back down because the left really jumped on him for trying to draw some distinction. You got on your one hand.
Right. He was and predictably, and he said as much.
I think what's frustrating is the message getting sent out right now seems to be to young men or to all men that if you deny it, then you get to keep abusing your power. And if you own it, then you're going to lose everything. And that's not, that's not. We got to somehow figure out kind of our appetite for retribution. Like I just think these things do happen on a spectrum. Like there's a difference between what Al Franken was accused of and what Harvey Weinstein is, right?
Right, and you can't compare Bill Cosby to Louis C.K., for example. Those are totally different offenses.
Right.
But it's a tough...
And he was weird shit, too. I mean...
Well, yeah, for sure.
Really? I mean, come on. Cat.
Some follow-up on your bat? How's your bat doing?
So, I walked by the sliding pocket door 2 or 3 times in the dark every day when I get up, and I shrink and I enter the room in trepidation, and so far I've been rewarded with nothing but clear space. And every time I do that, I reinvigorate the image of the bat going in there, which gets larger and larger. So at this point, the wingspan is almost like 2 feet.
Right.
I glance over it now and I can see, next, it's going to be fucking Bruce Wayne. I mean, that would be an improvement.
Right.
Whatever. But so I wish you'd quit asking about it because it only makes me think about it more. It's bad mojo.
Is that why you're wearing the Joker clown makeup? Have you seen that there are 2 Joker movies coming out at the same time with different actors?
I know that the Joaquin Phoenix is going to be it already is just in the promos a stunning achievement. I just can't wait. He is one of my favorite actors of all time.
He goes deep.
I think one of the best actors of our time.
Yeah, I think possibly so.
A phrase I use only occasionally, but he is, from what I've seen, I can't wait. Now, he lost 50 pounds for the role, and he worked on the laugh. And there's an article that you can find and you can post it on the net that was just into the characterization and what he did, and it took weeks and months and how he got there, and it all started with losing 50 pounds. And he said, when you don't eat, your movement toward depravity is like fast and very curious.
Yes.
And so, I can't wait.
Speaking of extreme weight loss for a role, the other Joker he's competing with is Jared Leto, who lost a whole bunch of money to win his Oscar, I think, for Dallas Buyers Club. But from what I've heard, apparently, Joaquin's Joker is maybe a prequel, like that he inspired the Joker that later later in the story Batman meets.
Yes.
So it's not such a departure. But yeah, I heard somebody say, I watched the Joker trailer. It wasn't funny at all. It's like,
I gotta go.
All right, we'll talk to you next week, man. Bye. If you've enjoyed what you just heard, you can support us by telling a friend or sharing us on social media. Monthly donations to help us pay for hosting and editing can be provided at patreon.com/happyhour. That's all one word, happy hour. All our episodes, including show notes for each episode, are available on our website, happyhour.fm. You can tweet at us at happyhour.fm, that's with a dot spelled out, happyhour.dotfm, or we can receive email at the same name, happyhourdotfm@gmail.com. It would also be great if you could give us a positive rating on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. That really helps other people find us. See you next week.